Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen. We don't get enough sports locally, so we had to go elsewhere to track down a high school volleyball game, St. John's Prep, coached by Scott Celli, against St. John's of Shrewsbury. And it was an entertaining game, very different game than the girls' game, and we got to see some terrific players. St. John's Prep won 3-0, and obviously Coach Celli's having a lot of success on the boys' side as well.
Yeah, they beat Andover yesterday, 3-0. They beat BC High last week, 3-0. That was after they beat St. John's of Shrewsbury. I thought they looked really good. I mean, it's a entirely different game. What I noticed in that game, Ron, the girls, to me, are better passers. You know, they set up, but it's more of a game where you have to set up and everybody works together. In the boys' game, it's more of a power game.
Right. You have a lot of players who are 6'3", 6'4", 6'6", and get the ball up to the front and people slam away. There was not a lot of blocking that happened. Not sure why. Maybe the offense was too good. But on the whole, the girls' game is a little bit more rally-oriented. So I think you see much more play from the back row, which we like.
Yeah, and again, in the boys' game, I mean, they had a couple of players, St. John's, that were just terrific. I mean, the serving from a couple of them was real good, especially that one, number one, I forget his name. He was amazing. I believe Scott said he was one of the top 5 players in the state. I mean, he played like it. Great all-around game. The one person you can compare him to in the girls' side is Jen Kane, that type of player.
You know, and there wasn't a really big crowd, relatively speaking, and at least at St. John's, one side has this curtain hanging down on one side, so there was a distinct advantage to playing on one side of the court versus the other, which that's part of the home court advantage, I guess.
But like we said at that game, it was their second match of the season. They played really well, but you could see the team they're going to be a lot better. You know, they had some tough points, but basically they played real strong. They're huge. They're a tall team. They have 2 6'6" kids, a couple 6'4" kids. The set is 6'3", isn't he?
Big
he did a good job at the net blocking. So he has a lot of talent there, and it's starting to show. You can see it. They beat BC High after that 3-0. They beat Andover 3-0.
It wasn't a really close game, so the fans were not totally into it like you might see in a playoff game.
Oh, Melrose girls against Canton, again, match like that, against, what is it, Newton North. I mean, those were great matches.
It's just a different game, and it was worth seeing.
Oh, I'm glad we went.
Right. Well, obviously, there's a lot of other things going on in sports. Specifically, last night, the Louisville Cardinals pulled off something less than an upset in defeating Michigan 82-76 in the national championship game. Wonderful basketball game. Great comeback by Louisville. And it really brought you through the whole range of emotions and excitement and frustration by watching a basketball game. You saw some of the unimaginably great plays that you could see and some incredibly dumb plays.
Oh, Smith drove me crazy. I was rooting for Louisville over Michigan, Big East team, of course. You know, and that Smith, and we talk about it all the time. You wonder what coaches tell the kids, because even in high school, we talk to high school coaches, they say, well, they don't really go over it, you know, what to do in certain situations, clock management. Well, 2:32 left in the game, Louisville's up by 8. Smith gets a rebound, dribbles the ball out behind the three-point line and shoots the ball with 32 seconds left in the shot clock. Now they're up by 8 with 2:32 to go in the game. I mean, one of the dumbest plays I've ever seen.
Well, you know that if Patino could go out and, you know, drag him off the court at that time,
see him scream at him?
he would have.
Well, look what happened after that. Well, after that, you can't blame him in a way. He got trapped and he threw the ball over Seaver's head. Went out of bounds, and that was a turnover right after that.
Well, and you know that as a coach, or looking at it from the coaching standpoint, you want to say, what's the matter? Doesn't the coach tell the player, don't do that? But you know that Patino's told him that 100 times.
But you know, too, like Smith, you know, the pros are looking at him because he's very good offensively. He could be explosive. I don't think he's as good as some of the point guards like Gordon, some of the guys like Gordon.
Yeah, he's not Derrick Rose.
You know, nowhere near those guys. But another time, now Louisville's up by 8 with 1:40 to go, and Rice is dribbling off the court. Instead of just staying on him, playing straight up defense, he's pressuring him. He gets into his body, bumped him at least 3 times. The ref didn't want to call it. Finally, he had to call it at midcourt. Now run. You're up by 8 with a minute and 40 to go. Number one, you're stopping the clock. You know, with a foul, you're giving them 2 quick points.
Well, one of the advantages of social media now is you can be on Twitter, which I was during the game, and you get coaches from all over the country who are weighing in on what's going on, and they're saying, wow, I can't believe that just happened. The official made that call, or he took that shot. It's just amazing what people think. And there's uniformity of opinion. People know good basketball plays, and they know silly basketball plays. One coach specifically said, well, coaching Russ Smith, that would be an adventure.
Oh, how about Burke's block on, was it Smith? No, it was Siva.
Yeah, it was a clean block. I mean, as clean as you can in a near breakaway situation.
But they were knocking the Michigan coach. You know, I can't really blame him for keeping Burke out of the game in the first half with 2 fouls. When is Albrecht? Albrecht scored 17 points in the first half.
Right, he had the game of his life in the first half, and you couldn't expect that to carry over in the second half.
And you have your best player with 2 fouls. Of course, you don't want to lose all those minutes. You know, we talk about that all the time. If it's near the end of the half, you want to hold them out.
Well, and Louisville executed really well down the stretch. Hancock shot the lights out, as well as being a good passer. Bohannon was a beast on the offensive boards, and he's not that big. And Jang, he made that beautiful post move at the end, that little hook shot.
That was a beautiful move.
You know, it was just an incredible move. And you know, these things don't just happen. People have to work at it for years to get to that skill level.
Yeah, they were talking after the game. I was watching ESPN, and they said that Patino was unbelievable with his adjustments. You know, and they were mentioning different things he did in the game. Well, they said, you know, Patino had it all over Michigan, and every other coach he's gone up against in this tournament, he's done a great job. Well, even though I think he's a salesman, I used to love him until he went to the Celtics and screwed things up there. But he's done a great job at Louisville.
Well, it takes a toll on you. If you looked at him, he, to me, looked quite old during the game relative to his previous boyish good looks. And maybe coaching these guys makes you old.
Well, look at the things he's been through in his personal life, too, you know. I mean, that doesn't help.
Well, obviously, we're also looking forward to the women's tournament, which concludes tonight, with Louisville women, a 5 seed, going up against UConn with 9 McDonald's All-Americans.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's my favorite team out of all the teams, pros and college, the UConn girls. I've been following them for years. They're in a good position right now. I mean, Louisville knocks off Baylor. That was the only team I was worried about. I told you the other day, when I was talking to you about the UConn-Notre Dame game, I said, I think UConn's going to beat them by in the teens, and they did. I think they beat them by 17. Great second half, UConn. Stewart, the freshman, was just unbelievable. She's 6'4", Ron. She can play any position. She can dribble the ball up the court. She can pass it, takes the ball a hoop, pull-up jump shot. She has it all. 3-point shots. Great defensive player. I haven't seen many defensive players blocking shots like her. She blocks shots with 2 hands. She goes up with 2 hands all the time to block shots, but she's totally under control. She blocked about 4 shots in that game. I look for them to, it may be close at the beginning, but I look for UConn to dominate them and pull away at the end.
Yeah,
Louisville's tough.
Yeah, Louisville's good, but you know, I thought in the major upset when Louisville beat Baylor, there were a few things that happened. Number one, Griner, to me, didn't seem fully engaged. They double-teamed or triple-teamed her, and she just seemed content with that.
Well, it was a physical game. The point guard, who's All-American, too, for Baylor, she had a big game, 28 or 26 points. But no one else did anything down low. He just conversion, everybody.
The other thing about the women's game is if you put them on the line and down the stretch, most of those girls will just bury it. Odyssey Sims that you're talking about, she went to the line 4 times at the end, nothing but net the whole time.
Yeah, but you look at UConn. If Louisville tries to collapse on UConn, that's going to be a huge mistake, because Mosquito Lewis is the best 3-point shooter in the country. They got Kelly Ferris, who can hit the 3-point shot. Hartley can hit the 3-point shot. You know, and Stewart can also hit the 3-point shot. So if they start collapsing on Dolson and Stewart, they'll just bury them with the 3-point shot. And what Connecticut will do is Louisville's going to come out and try to pressure them. That's the worst thing they can do, because UConn is great in the open court, and they're going to get a lot of easy baskets because they can finish. So I think eventually Louisville will try to collapse there, maybe play a zone at times, because I think UConn will just eat up their man-to-man.
Yeah, there's a discussion in coaching circles about how to win with inferior talent. Now, first of all, you can't turn the ball over. I guess if you use the classic example, was the 1985 Villanova-Georgetown game. So you can't turn the ball over. You can't give up second shots. So you have to rebound ferociously at both ends. You can't put the other team on the line with bad foul shots. And then you have to be fortunate and shoot the ball pretty well.
Yeah, when Louisville beat Baylor, they were 16 for 25, I believe, from the three-point line. Something like that.
So, you know, obviously teams with less talent can still win, but, you know, the things that, ironically, if you should be doing that every game. I was reading something recently. It said, imagine if you're a coach and you yell out Jordans, and that means that if your team gets a stop on that possession, every single kid on the team is going to get a new pair of sneakers. Imagine the concentration, moving the feet, not fouling, communicating, how well the team would play for that possession. Well, the problem is you can't play that way for one possession. You've got to play that way every possession, and it's not easy to find players who are willing to sell out and do that.
Yeah, if UConn wins tonight, they'll tie Tennessee with 8 titles each. And Pat Summitt had 8 for Tennessee, all 8, and Mariama will have all 8 for UConn. So he'll tie Summitt, and Connecticut will tie Tennessee for the most championships. That's pretty good, 8.
Right. When we talk about great college coaches, one of the lesser known in most circles is a fellow named Don Meyer, who coached at Northern State University, and he won over 900 games. Had some serious health problems, which he's bounced back from somehow. Cancer, serious car accident, and in any event, he hands out mimeographed sheets, laminated sheets, which we also do to our players, and there's 5 things he asks for the players. He asks for passion, unity, what he calls servant leadership, humility, and thankfulness. And if you think about it, if you have a great enthusiasm for the game, play the game right, play together, be humble, and work very hard at it, it's pretty hard not to be successful when you have talent.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. We talk about to our girls, you know, we want you to be committed. That'll make you very competitive if you're committed. You know, learn the game properly. A lot of kids will work on their game, but they're not doing it proper. Shooting, they can go out and shoot 100 shots a game, and if their form's not right, you know, what good is it?
Right. The biggest difference offensively in the women's game from the men's game for individuals is historically women were not well taught how to create their own shot, how to get separation off the dribble, come off screens, that sort of thing. That's improved greatly. You see players who are highly skilled, like the Odyssey Sims. But that's what I think our emphasis needs to be this summer, is to work on trying to help the players get to the point where they can finish more consistently inside. Because when you're going up to play at a higher level against bigger players, you have to have a bigger repertoire of moves so that you can get fouled or get, as Tommy Heinsohn would say, get the blue sky.
Yeah, you look at, all right, AAU. You know, I might have been to maybe 1 or 2 practices in all the years I've coached, watching AAU practices. What do they hope for, coaches in AAU? They want to win. You know, I mean, you talk about teaching. I mean, they're still not learning really the fundamentals. They're learning how to run plays. They're on the court. They're working on different dribbling drills, shooting drills at times. But you see the girls, a lot of girls, I mean, they come off the AAU, they lose the edge a little. They come and play with the high school team, and they're getting better just by being on the court. But are they being taught the right way? I don't think they are, because you're not seeing it in a high school run.
Well, we're going to take it to the next level this summer. We've got the weight vest, weighted ball. So we're going to work on the balance, footwork, and quickness with a little bit of disadvantage for the players. So the game's going to come a lot easier for them, I hope, after we toughen them up a little bit more.
Right, and you know, you have to do it. You can't disrespect, especially the sport you're playing. You can't disrespect it by saying, "Oh, I'll just play it in the fall when when it's time to play. I mean, you got to work on your game.
Right. And speaking of bad coaching, we have the incident at Rutgers, which I like to believe it's an isolated incident of incredible abuse, which you can't call it anything else, where Mike Rice was fired for literally assaulting players, throwing basketballs at them, and using inappropriate language. There's harsh language, which all coaches use harsh language. So I'm not going to say that anybody's going to get suspended or fired just for harsh language, but he also had it caught on tape, and apparently the tape was available, and neither the athletic director fully availed himself of it. Apparently, and I saw an interview with the university president, a fellow named Barchi, who said, well, I had my counsel look at it. I didn't have to look at it myself. Well, I bet he's regretting that he didn't look at it himself, because there's a major consternation there as to whether he should be fired as well.
Yeah, that was terrible. I mean, even as assistant coach, he'd run up behind the player and kick him in the back of the knee. I mean, it was unbelievable. They'd throw balls at them, and they were elbowing them. Defensive player, they're just going up to them and hitting them. It was amazing that it lasted.
Well, as a young player, I had an assistant coach who it's necessary to see the ball at all times. And you learned that if you didn't, you'd have a volleyball thrown at you from somewhere. Now, a volleyball doesn't really hurt very much if you get hit with it, thrown from across the gym. And I can assure you that all the players saw the ball at all times, because you had a choice: see the ball or have the volleyball coming your way.
Right.
And you didn't have to do that too many times to make that point. And just to make the same point, after you score a basket, you don't run down court with your, cheering for yourself, listening to the applause, and not seeing the ball. An outstanding player at Melrose in a playoff game ran back, wasn't looking, the ball went right by her to another player, and who scored on an easy shot. And here's one of the best players that Melrose has had. And it wasn't unique to her. It could have been anybody, because a lot of the girls and boys, after they score, they run down not seeing the ball. You have to see the ball.
Yeah, I mean, those people that do that, they're not real basketball players or whatever sport they're playing in. I mean, they're just out there playing. Right. They're just trying to win with their talent, but they're not thinking the game out.
I think it's, what we would do sometimes is you'd turn your back for a couple steps, try to guess where the first pass would go, and then spring to that turnaround. And if you stole the ball, boy, that really ticked the other team off.
Well, that shows you're always in the game. I mean, these people that shoot the ball and they keep their arm in the air, and they're losing minutes, seconds getting back on defense.
Well, some of the coaches make the point that 1.5 seconds, the first 1.5 seconds after a basket is scored, gives you your best chance to attack the retreating defense, because they're not paying attention. So the really up-tempo teams work to get the ball in as quickly as possible and advance it before the defense is ready. I've
been saying this for a long time. I tell the kids that aren't as quick as other players. I said, if you can anticipate, if you're locked in the game and you can anticipate, even anticipate going from offense to defense quicker, you can pick up 4 or 5 steps just on that. But I mean, if you really wanted it, but you know what we say, the mental part of the game is so important.
Right. The acronym we like to use is CARE. Concentration leads to anticipation, reaction, and execution, and you make a good thing happen. And it's tough. Young players, they just want to work on their skills, and yet the fastest way to get better is to learn the game so that you can know what's going on and out-finesse the other team, because you're not going to always be able to out-muscle them.
Right. I say it all the time. When you react, the people that react the quickest are the people that are way ahead of the game, and if you have the equal talent, that's going to be the player that outplays the other player. Person that identifies what's in front of them and reacts quickest under control.
Well, look at a guy like Paul Pierce. He's not that fast. He doesn't jump that high, but he's always knows what's going on.
Larry Bird.
Very savvy, right.
Larry Bird was the best at it.
Right.
Always way ahead of the other player.
We'll be right back.
On and off the court, Visionary Basketball Group delivers programs that empower players with skills for athletic and personal success. Our players undergo learning experiences that position them for positive lifelong achievement on and off the court.
Hello, my name is Anthony Taylor, founder of Visionary Basketball Group, VBG. It's a year-round basketball player development organization ranging from preschool to college and professional level, girls and boys. We cater to all skill levels, starting from beginner, intermediate, and advanced. One of the biggest things that we have is our coaching staff, who do a phenomenal job at mentoring the players on a regular basis with the training, the teaching, and the knowledge. We operate 7 days a week. We offer over 30 sessions, and we're considered one of the top comprehensive basketball player development organizations in New England. And another key aspect that we do is that we have kids coming from all different areas, urban, suburban communities, uniting as one. And that's what makes VBG a phenomenal organization that helps kids gain confidence, leadership, discipline, self-esteem. And if you have a chance, come down and see what we do at Visionary Basketball Group.
VBG player athletes are rising stars in elementary, middle school, high school, and college basketball. We apply the same approach to training with every participant at VBG and produce players who are prepared for maximum performance. Visionary Basketball not only provides programs for individuals, we can also come to your town, school, or any institution to customize a structured program for your team or basketball organization. For more information, please log on to our website, www.visionarybasketball.com, or drop into our Athletic Performance Center at 152 Tremont Street, Melrose, Mass. VBG, complete your vision.
Good evening. There's an old saying, if you have to yell to make a point, then it's not a point worth making. And I know sometimes I yell, but that's because I'm an excitable kind of guy. I don't hit people. I don't throw basketballs at them. I don't shove them and make them try and play better. Memo to recently fired Rutgers coach Mike Rice, who lost his job after video footage of him coaching surfaced. If you cannot motivate your players to want to win without threats, intimidations, physical and mental violence, and undeserved gay slurs, then you have no business coaching whatsoever, period, at any level. Now, I get that some people believe that this ongoing wussification of America is the reason people are so overly sensitive. And yes, you do need to be tough if you expect to coach at any level. You need to be tough if you want to play at any level. But that's tough up here, okay? You need to be tough and fair as a coach. But throwing basketballs and accusing players of not being man enough, is that simply a case of being old school? Do you think shoving a player is going to make him play better? This isn't Full Metal Jacket. No one is getting ready for war. Nobody's going to Vietnam. And these aren't grown men. These are kids. As a coach, you lead by example. You have to get tough to make a point sometimes, but this isn't a case of being overly tough. This is bullying. This is abuse. These kids aren't going to hit back. They'll fold up internally, and then you're likely never going to see their best. A hostile environment will never create a winning one. So, Mike, now that you're unemployed, maybe you could go coach a street team somewhere in Jersey. See if you can get away with your routine with grown men. See if you have any teeth left. Because, you know, the fact of the matter is, violence does not cure violence. But the fact is, a bully never hits those who will hit back. Have fun on the unemployment line.
Welcome back. Social media makes news every day now in sports. Phil Jackson, as in @PhilJackson11 on Twitter, is there tweeting live now during basketball games. And I lost some respect for Phil recently as he came out and he said, well, I've been in the NBA for 40 years and there are no gay players in the NBA. What are you talking about? How could that ever happen? Well, we know that John Amici played at Utah for Jerry Sloan. I believe he also played for Doc Rivers in Orlando. In one article about him, he talks about he was invited to a Christmas party by Andrei Kirilenko, and Kirilenko said, bring whoever you want, John. You know, bring your significant other. Kirilenko sure knew, so I can't believe that Jerry Sloan didn't know. I can understand maybe in Utah you don't want people to know. And now in the NFL, there's discussion about 4 players coming out simultaneously with a lot of support, and there's a lot of information passed around now. The NFL and coaching staffs are trying to prepare players for that happening, and it's probably going to happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I don't think the players really care, Ron. I mean, if 5 or 6% of the people are gay, then you got to figure 5 or 6% of baseball players, football players are gay, maybe even higher.
Right. What makes a good teammate? Somebody who is supportive to their other teammates, who know what their job is, and who do their job. As long as you do those things, I don't think there'll be a big beef. If you're a lousy player, Brian, I can never say his name, Ian Badeo got released this week by the Ravens, but he's 36 years old and he's not as effective a player anymore. Now, he thinks that somehow his stance for gay rights is affecting his playing situation. I don't think so. He just got old.
No, not nowadays. Nowadays, you know, really, maybe 1% of people care. No one cares. I mean, if you're gay or you're not gay.
They didn't want to pay him whatever.
Doesn't matter.
$850,000, the veterans minimum for a certain amount of service time, and they'll get a younger guy.
You know, Ron. So I work with gay people. And there's one male that's gay, and there are 3 females that are lesbians. I don't even think of them as that. I mean, I talk to them. I don't say, well, I'm talking to a gay person. You know, it's not like, and that's not, most of the people are like that nowadays. They don't care, as long as they're good people.
And certainly in a lot of sports, it's widely known that there are lots of gay players in the WNBA, on the women's tennis circuit, for example. And who cares? What difference does it make? You're not saying, oh, we have the high score among lesbians versus the high score of, you know, women, mothers in the NBA and the WNBA, but somehow it becomes a big deal. I guess probably
with the press,
with the media, right?
Something for the media to talk about.
Exactly.
You know, and again, I mean, they know enough that no one cares nowadays.
Right. Now, what is a big story, obviously, is still concussions, and there's a lot of testimony going right now. There are 500 lawsuits against the NFL, and there's a lot of background information. One of the area experts in this field is Dr. Cantu at Boston Medical Center, and apparently he was consulting for the NFL, but he was also consulting or discussing his findings with the player's plaintiff attorney. So basically the NFL told him not to talk to the players' attorneys, and I don't know. The NFL's been aware that there could be an association of concussions with memory problems and other neuropsychiatric illness for about 15 years, and this is the biggest threat to their game. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 10 to 20 years the NFL disappears. But you're talking about almost a $10 billion business, and it's not going to go easily.
Well, you know, they're changing the rules. You know, no more helmet to helmet. Offensive players can't bury their head anymore, you know, to try to drive them. But, you know, you talk about that. What about boxing?
Well, right.
That's amazing.
Boxing, the whole idea of the sport is to give the other guy a concussion.
And they're getting hit in the head. They're getting hit in the head. Some fights, they're getting hit in the head, what, 30 times? 30 more?
Oh, gosh. And you don't know, in soccer, you get a lot of contact with the ball, which...
Yeah, that's another sport.
I mean, and the ball, especially when it's wet and the balls get pretty heavy, you get hit by a heavy ball.
Well, even in basketball, say you get hit in the head with a basketball.
Or hockey, there's plenty of contact there, and some of the enforcers, there's been several, quote, enforcer types in the NHL who committed suicide, and the question was, did they recognize that they were having cognitive and behavioral problems from their sport? Yeah,
that's like all the tough guys in hockey. You know, most of them are there just to be able to handle those type of situations, and they're constantly getting in fights.
Right. Now, not to make light of North Korea and nuclear proliferation and threats, but I don't know if you saw what Stevie Johnson of the Bills said.
No.
He said, well, if North Korea is going to drop a bomb anywhere, I hope it'll be on Foxborough. So I thought that was kind of funny. You know, not the nuclear weapons issue, but at least he understood that the Patriots were a big threat for the Bills going forward. And the Bills just got a new quarterback, right?
Yeah, well, they released Fitzpatrick.
Right. So we'll see. As usual, the quarterback goes there and says, I'm just here to help our team get to the Super Bowl.
You know, but you know, a team that's going in the right direction is Miami.
Yeah, Miami got a lot of good players in the offseason, and they have a bunch of draft picks too.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Now, another interesting piece of news, again with no data, is the highest number of jerseys ever sold was sold this year for a rookie in the NFL. Not for just that he happened to be a rookie, but for any player ever. So who sold the most jerseys ever?
A rookie, well, you know who it is. It's his name for Washington.
Yeah, RG3.
RG3.
Robert Griffin. So, and he was first. Peyton Manning was second.
Locke wasn't in there?
Ray Lewis was third.
Third? Who's buying these for the kids? These parents are buying Ray Lewis jerseys for their kids?
I don't know. Kaepernick was fourth, and Brady was fifth. Now, Tim Tebow, despite the fact that he only played on special teams and was useless this year, was 13th.
What was Gronkowski?
Oh, I don't know. And speaking of Gronkowski, you know, he's going to have to, you know, they're going to have to put a zipper in his arm because they're talking about a third operation now. He had the initial fracture, they put a plate in, then he had a second fracture, got operated for that. Now there's a question of whether, now we don't know what the medical data is, whether he has an infection in that area. And just like if you have a splinter and you have an infected finger, your infection won't clear up until you get the splinter out. So if he's got a plate in there with any infection, they're going to have to take that out, and then they'd have to treat him with antibiotics for some sustained period of time, usually about 6 weeks or so. Yes, I am a doctor. And then have another plate potentially put in. So whether Gronkowski is even going to be available at the beginning of the season is highly up in the air.
His agent's saying he doesn't need an operation, but that's his agent saying it. You know what I think about Gronkowski? He's an idiot. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing him get traded. I mean, he's talented, but he's a jerk. You know, and I told you what he's done to, how he's disrespect girls that I know that have met him. He's very disrespectful, and he's cocky. And look what's happening. Look, he's out there friggin' body slamming his brother with a cast on his arm. He's a nitwit.
Well, in India they have a word for it. They call it karma. Anyway, now the NFL draft will be coming up in a few weeks. And to sum up, what I think the Patriots are going to go for is, the answer is speed. They need more speed.
Well, they got Washington, and they got that guy you don't like, the track star. What's his name? Demps. But Washington's going to help them.
I know, but they
got to sign Edelman. I mean, they got to sign Edelman. They can't let Edelman go. I know he's been injured, Ron, but he's talented. He's a great punt returner. You put Washington back, he can do both, but Washington back returning kickoffs. You got Edelman there. You got Edelman backing up in the slot.
Well, we don't know if Amendola is going to play in the slot or if he's going to play out wide, and that depends on whether they draft a receiver.
They may move Hernandez into the slot, too, at times.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why I heard they let Welker go.
But to me, they need a coverage linebacker, somebody who can deal with the tight end and the backs out of the backfield.
Well, they have snowshoe spikes. Well, you said, you know, we both like Fletcher, and he should be healthy. And I imagine in third down situations, they'll take Spikes out, who can't cover the slowest tight end in the league. He can't cover him.
Right, and I suppose Adrian Wilson could play some of that role, too.
And how about the guy they drafted from, they signed from Oakland? He's 6'6". He's 6'6", 320.
Right. Is it Tommy Smith or is it Tommy Davis? I can never remember. Tommy Kelly. You know, he's a guy who's been productive.
Belichick's liked him throughout the years. He's 32. They say he's not as productive as he used to be, but he doesn't have to play all the time.
Right. So he's more of a pass rushing interior
Yeah,
lineman.
maybe he'll get his hands up. So, you know, you won't have two midgets coming up the middle with Love and Wilfork all the time.
Right. So, you know, obviously anybody who watched the AFC Championship game, Flacco had forever to throw the ball.
And then he's looking out, and there's no one in front of him because they're too small. So they get their arms up, and he's still taller than with, you know, it's now they got a guy 6'6". Maybe they'll use him for pass rushing up the middle. You get someone who can just, they don't have to get to the quarterback, Ron. Just get up close and with your hands up. And
we find out McCourty had shoulder surgery in the offseason, which is not surprising. Yeah. These guys are always getting things scoped and tuned up.
He's happy with who they have coming back. You know, Talib, he's happy they signed Talib.
Right, and I think Dennard is supposed to be sentenced on
I'm not crazy about him,
Thursday.
I'm not crazy. Everybody likes him. I'm not crazy about him. I think he's just going to be an average cornerback.
I know he did a pretty good job against Houston.
Yeah, but he's not. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, because Rashad Dowling's not coming
Well,
back.
he's
That's
back
for sure.
again. Rashad Dowling is the new Cunningham, Jermaine Cunningham. He's missed his first 2 years with injury. Maybe his third year he'll start to pick up a little.
I remember when Belichick, drafted him, and all of the experts are in this saying, what is he doing? Not only is there a question about his ability in the pros, but he's always injured. He's been injured in college.
All right, and the two key words in the NFL are ability and durability. And if you can't stay on the field, and God knows it's a man's game. It's violent and it's fast, and the players we've been talking about, Dowling, Edelman, Fletcher, all have really struggled with injuries. So, it's hard to imagine that no matter how they change the rules, that the injuries are going to go down a lot. In fact, once upon a time, my daughters played AAU basketball with a girl whose father was a former NFL player. I won't say the name. And I asked his wife, was there anything that your husband did before the game to prepare for the game? He said, yes, he used to sharpen his nails so he could gouge the receivers' faces. So I said, oh, okay. Well, so that answers that.
I know the girl who used to date Mike Ruth from BC.
Right.
When he was on steroids, about 280, he eventually stopped playing. He went down to 220, where his normal weight was.
I mean, he had a huge upper body, but he had small legs, so I don't think he really was.
And his arms weren't long, they said too.
We'll be right back.
At Athletic Evolution, it starts with a purpose and ends with your success. Visit our website or drop into our training facility at 78B Olympia Avenue, Woburn, Mass. Athletic Evolution, giving you the edge.
Welcome to the middle of April, and that means it's Augusta, Georgia, and the Masters. Somebody will go after another green jacket. Now, there's a bit of a controversy flaring up here as they're asking Rory McIlroy if he's Tiger Woods' rival. Now, McIlroy appropriately answered and said, I don't think I'm really the golfer that Tiger Woods is. If you look at, he's won 71 PGA events, 14 Masters. He's the tour leading money winner, leads this year. He's won 3 tournaments already this year. And I've won 2 Masters. I'm not sure that I'm in his class right now.
Oh, you mean 2 majors?
2 majors, yeah.
Woods won 14.
Right.
What is Nicholas, 18?
I don't know. I was looking up a couple of statistics. Tiger Woods has been in 284 events and PGA Tour events, and won 71. He's had 180 top 10 finishes in that, out of 200. That's ridiculous. And he's won over 100 tournaments, including international tournaments. So, I mean, what's amazing is that after his total breakdown of his image and his golf game, that he was able to rehabilitate his image and his golf game.
Yeah, my dream is that him and Mickelson on the back 9 on Sunday are tied like four ahead of everyone else. That'd be unbelievable to see him and Mickelson making those shots. I mean, Mickelson's my favorite, but I always like to see Tiger Woods. I don't know why. I always like to see Tiger Woods in the running too. But the two of them, I'm rooting for both of them.
And I have 2 words for Red Sox fans. It's called sample size. Okay, the prodigal Sox are back, and they're playing better. They've had outstanding starting pitching so far, particularly from Lester and Buchholz, but they've only played 7 games. So I don't think that you can extrapolate from that and think that Daniel Nava is going to have 40 home runs or that Will Middlebrooks is going to have 80 home runs. Let's not get too excited yet. See how it goes. They have a good opportunity with 19 home games in April to put a little separation between themselves and somebody else. Now, speaking of somebody else, Tampa lost last night on maybe the worst call I've ever seen. They had 2 outs in the 9th against Texas, and I can't remember who was up, but Joe Nathan's pitching, and it's a 3-2 count. And the pitch is about 6 inches outside and almost in the dirt. The umpire rings him up, and even Nathan couldn't believe it, the pitcher. So instead of having a man in scoring position and 2 on base, Tampa goes home losing 5-4. And apparently the umpire after the game said, "Yeah, I really blew the call."
How could you blow that call, though? He must have wanted to get out of there. What else can you say?
It wasn't even close. If you
was it in the outside part of the plate?
Outside, way outside.
What have I told you for years? Since they changed years ago, American League umpires used to get above the catcher's head. They used to have the protector in front. They used to hold the protector, and they were always above the head.
Now they're on the inside shoulder.
So they had both corners covered, and they had the letters covered. The knees were. That's where they had their problem because they were high. Now they get in the inside shoulder most of the time. They do not cover that outside corner. There's so many mistakes in baseball on that strike zone on the outside part of the plate. Very rarely do you get an umpire who's good at it because, again, he's on that inside corner. The reason why they do it is they want to cover the letters and they want to cover the knees. So they have their letters and knees covered in the inside corner. They don't have the outside corner covered. A lot of times they're guessing, and if the pitch is moving, they miss it. And that's probably what happened in there. I didn't see it, but that's probably what happened.
Every game is available for review on a site. You have to Google Pitch FX, F/X. And they show every pitch. They grade the umpires on whether the ball's over the plate or not over the plate. And it was just an egregious mistake. And, but Joe Madden, who I know you don't like Madden, said, he said, "There's just no place for that in baseball." It wasn't even close.
No, but Ron, you know what I'm saying? What I say? Do what they do in tennis, just on the outside corner. Then they'd have every corner covered.
Well,
they'd have everything covered.
I think that baseball should have a limited form of replay when you get like a challenge, like football.
We don't even need a replay. The thing buzzes when you know.
But you could have a challenge system where you get 2 or 3 challenges a game, and you can use them whatever you want. Fair ball or foul ball. Safe route at first with replay. Did the guy get tagged? Trap or no trap in the outfield?
But Ron, you know what I've never seen? And pitchers should thank God that this is the way the umpires are doing the games, because I have never seen, in all the years I've been watching, I have never seen an umpire call a pitch that's a strike a ball on the outside corner. I don't see it. You don't see that. They're calling tons of balls that are off the outside corner strikes, but you never see a strike call the ball.
Well, we've talked before about Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine made a living because the outside corner was 6 inches wider for them.
Well, you know why why he got that? Because eventually the umpire again is on the inside corner. He keeps putting that pitch there. So eventually the umpire's going to start calling it, and he's going to stay with it.
Right, and I don't blame the pitchers for, if you can throw it to exactly where you want it and they'll call it a strike, it's fine.
That's the biggest problem in baseball. I've been saying it for years. The biggest problem in baseball is the outside corner, because umpires don't have it covered properly, and they're totally always making mistakes. When they show that screen, pitches are 2-3 inches off the outside corner, they're calling strikes.
Now, the Red Sox opened up at Yankee Stadium last week, and I have to give the Yankee fans credit, because probably 90% of them were disguised as empty seats by the end of the game. How they did that, I don't know.
Again, I'm a Yankee fan, and I'm really down on them, but I look at the team now, and who knows? Wells is hitting. What's his name from Cleveland? The power hitter. They picked up
Hafner.
Hafner he's. I mean, I was thinking the other day. I'm saying, when you get Jeter back, even though he's old, Jeter still gets on base, smart player. You get Granderson back, you get Teixeira back, and you have those 2 guys, and one of them will have to leave the lineup unless Ichiro, subs with Wells.
There's some really great sites for baseball fans. The granddaddy of them all is baseball-reference.com, where it gives every player's statistics who's ever played, where they stand as far as potential Hall of Fame. offense, defense, base running. It's phenomenal. Their salaries. And another site that's really good is I think it's hittracker.com, and it shows all the home runs from Major League Baseball, and it gives you a video of each home run. They show the angle of elevation of the home run, the speed of the ball off the bat. It says how many parks the ball would be a home run in and the distance of the home run. So like Nava's home run yesterday, they said was 360-something feet, and it had a height of 100 feet at the apex. It's just, they give you a great amount of information if you're a real serious baseball fan.
Like, well, Middlebrook's second home run the other night, second out of 3 in the upper deck, and it was still climbing.
The thing that I liked the most about that game, which obviously wasn't a competitive game, was when Middlebrook came up going for his 4th home run and went up to almost to the track, or out to the track. Johnny Gomes, you'd think it was the 7th game of the World Series. He's jumping up and down. Now here's a guy who is not in the lineup, who's just watching the game, enjoying the game.
Well, they have good guys in that team. Well, again, as a Yankee fan looking at them, if I was a Red Sox fan, I'd be real happy with this group.
Well, it does seem that even the players who are not playing that day are not whining and sulking on the bench.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have Lester and Buckholz pitching great. You know, I don't know about the other starters. They may have problems as the year goes on, but their bullpen's strong. They have a lot of good players. You know, they have players that you root for that are going to be in the game at all time, rooting for each other.
Yeah, I think Middlebrooks is a good guy. You know, I think the whole Drew Iglesias thing is unfortunate because
I don't know. I still can't figure that out.
Well, now what I heard was that
Iglesias is going down. I heard.
Right at the end of last year, apparently Sherrington asked Valentine to play Iglesias all September and see, you know, what they had, and Valentine wouldn't. So anyway, so that now they're in a bind. Iglesias he's a terrific shortstop. We don't know what he's going to hit, but he can really field. And you know, Drew, we'll see. I mean, I think he'll be a capable player, but he's hurt all the time. We'll see the same thing with Ortiz, so it's just hard to know. But there is a new attitude, it seems, surrounding the team. That doesn't mean they're going to win 90 games or make the playoffs, but at least you don't have to root against them actively like last year.
You never know. They have a lot of good players in the team, you know, and Pedroia batting 3rd, Ellsbury 1st, Victorino the 2nd, Middlebrooks is power in the middle of the lineup. Ortiz will be back eventually. You know, if he's on his juice, then he'll be all right. If he's not, then forget about it. He won't get around on a fastball. But we'll see what happens.
Right. Well, we will see. You know, another guy I really like a lot is Uehara. He reminds me of, you know, for older fans, Catfish Hunter.
They have an excellent bullpen.
Hunter was a guy who could paint the corners forever. You'd have your nice, comfortable 1 for 4, you know, and you know you'd lose 3-1 to him. But Uehara changes speeds. He's got a great fork ball. Doesn't throw that hard, high 80s, but he puts the ball exactly where he wants it. He's a real professional, and he's excited too. He gets somebody out. You know, he's happy. Yeah,
right. And if they stay healthy, especially the pitching, I mean, Lester and Buckholz are the keys. If they stay healthy all year, I mean, they're going to be battled. They should make the playoffs.
I think they have a chance to be the all facial hair team. We have Andrew Miller, who looks like Chewbacca.
I was looking at them. I said, imagine if they were with the Yankees. Because the Yankees, you have to shave.
You have Gomes, Saltalamacchia has got Pedroia. Yeah. Who else?
What is up with Pedroia with the beards and everything?
I know, you can grow a beard really fast.
Summer, you're playing in the summertime, you know, and you're growing beards. And
I don't understand how you can have a beard when it's so hot, you know.
I hope he has a big year. I like him. He hasn't had a big year in a couple of years, Pedroia.
No, he played okay last year relative to the rest of the team, but
I think his problem is, which we said, when he goes after those high pitches, that's a fly ball hit. You know, and he doesn't have the strength usually. When he gets around on the lower fastballs, he can drill them because he gets all his power into it. But those high fastballs, they're just long fly balls to center field.
The other guy who they're saying has really added a lot to the team is David Ross. Now, first of all, he can throw pretty well. I've seen him throw out a couple of guys. But also they said he's very good with the pitchers, not only from a receiving standpoint, but pointing out mechanical things and working with Juan Nieves, the pitching coach, and Farrell, so that they have an idea out there. You know, there's a lot to baseball. There's not as much to baseball as basketball. I don't know if there's anything that compares to basketball.
No.
Football, maybe. Football's got a lot to it, I'm sure.
Well, if you're going to play basketball, you have to put a lot of time into it.
Right.
You know,
And, you know, the big thing with the Red Sox is their ERA so far this season is less than 3. It's not going to be less than 3 for the month, never mind for the year. And if you get great pitching, you're going to be competitive. Now, there's some other interesting stories. For example, the Jordan's Furniture promotion, that if somebody on the Red Sox pitches a perfect game.
after a certain day, July something.
Right. Then
If he pitches it now, you don't get anything.
Right. And then Pedro saying, well, there were 3 perfect games pitched in the major leagues. Well, I don't remember, has a Red Sox pitcher ever pitched a perfect game?
It was a Mambo Cat pitch. Was it just a no-hitter?
Right. Mambo Cat had a no-hitter. And, you know, obviously, lots of guys had no-hitters. Derek Lowe had a no-hitter. Hideo Nomo had a no-hitter. Well, Buck Holst and Lester have both thrown no-hitters.
Yeah.
But perfect games,
I don't think
different
so.
story. You know, I think that what I really like is whenever they have a no-hitter going, ESPN will cut away in the 9th inning so you can see the
But
guy
nowadays,
go
it's
for
not
it.
even as big as it used to be.
No, I know. Well, it has changed a little bit.
Well, with the steroids and all that, and, you know, not as many players are taking steroids.
Well, we like
Some
to
are still
think they
hiding
are.
it. Some are still hiding it, but you're not seeing as many homers.
Now, I don't know the answer to this. For example, a guy who's rehabbing, like A-Rod, is he getting tested on a regular basis while he rehabs, or he doesn't get tested because he's not playing?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I just hope he never comes back. You know, I really do. I hope they end up.
Well, the Yankees have a lot of money sunk into his playing.
That's the worst contract in the history of sports.
And then the other guy, you know, even though I'm a Red Sox fan, you know, I do like to watch Mariano Rivera pitch. I think for a guy who has one pitch.
See him strike out Bradley?
Bradley had no chance. Cutter on the outside corner.
He went with that cutter on the inside corner, and he went at it, and he kept breaking in on him, and he fouled it off. Then he took a nice pitch. He would have hammered that pitch if he swung at it. But they say he's very patient up there.
Right, we'll see how it goes. I think
he struck out 5 out of his last 11 at-bats. He didn't play yesterday.
Right, he didn't play on opening day. They said he's going to play tomorrow, which I don't know. If you're watching the games, he's really struggling against left-handed pitching. And the second thing is they're pitching him right up under the hands, inside corner, about belt high or higher.
And he's swinging at him, which he
and
shouldn't.
You know, he's got to have to adjust to that. And if you can remember back when Ellsbury was a young player, I used to call it the summer of 4 to 3. Ellsbury couldn't handle that inside stuff, and he grounded out to second base so many times. And good players, they adjust to it. They figure out how to deal with it. Ortiz, as a young player, he had big holes, and then, you know, whether I don't know how performance-enhancing drugs help you hit balls that you couldn't hit before, but maybe it helps your bat speed. But he really was able to handle the inside stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with Bradley if he stays in that slump. I mean, it's only a couple of games.
Well, they'll send him down once Ortiz is ready to come back. And
yeah, and move Gomes out there.
I guess
Nava and him.
Right. Nava's not totally awful in left
No, he's not bad.
You know,
he's gotten better, and he's got the power. You know, he can. He's that type of player you want.
And it's hard not to root for a guy who started off his college baseball career as the manager. You know, so.
His wife's in the medical field. Did you hear they talking about that? Yeah, he didn't, because they interviewed him after the game, and they asked if his wife was at the game, and she goes, no. He goes, no, she's working, but I imagine she saw, you know, the game. So whoever was interviewing him said that your wife's in the medical field, and he goes, yeah. So I don't know what she is.
Well, here's a player who, you know, played in one of those industrial leagues, works his way up to the majors, probably getting $465,000, $480,000 a year. Incredibly grateful to be at the major league level, playing a game that he loves to play. You know, he's not going to the Hall of Fame, but how can you not root for a guy like that?
How about Trout? He's only getting $465,000 this year. They gave him a $25,000 raise.
Well,
they interviewed him the other day.
You know, and then you're going to expect them to sign. First, I think is Boris his agent?
Yeah, if I was his agent, there's no way I'd sign with them. I mean, if they're not going to treat him right.
Right. You know, it doesn't mean he's going to sign with them in the future, but you know, you're really getting off to a bad start.
It's crazy. Give him $1 million.
Right.
I mean, make him happy. I mean, the guy's worth $10 million.
And then, just on a closing note, Josh Beckett had a quality start in a loss the other day. Adrian Gonzalez is hitting .400, and Carl Crawford's hitting over .400 with 2 stolen bases. So
Gonzalez is hitting over 400. He was hitting 111 early on.
So I guess that if you don't want to play in Boston or you can't play in Boston, then maybe you shouldn't just take the money and come here anyway.
Oh, I mean that. When you then I heard another big thing is that they're real happy about the 2 pitchers they got in that deal. So
right.
they
DeRozan
saved
and
all
Webster.
that money.
Webster pitched 5 innings, shutout his first start of the year for Pawtucket. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph Labella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.